Let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're going to sit quietly with the unspoken weight that so many of us carry every single day. We're unpacking the unsaid truths of our inner lives. You know, those silent struggles that completely go unnoticed, the absolute exhaustion of pretending, and ultimately the profound journey to reclaiming who you really are. Have you ever been hit by that silent realization, that quiet thought of, I got so good at hiding it, even I forgot I was breaking? If you have ever felt that profound, bone deep exhaustion of pretending everything is perfectly fine when it really isn't, I just want to validate that for you right now. It takes an immense amount of energy to build a facade so convincing that even you start to believe it. Well, right up until the exact moment you simply can't hold it up anymore. Because the loudest battles are literally the ones no one else sees. Think about the heavy truth in those words for a second. Every single day, people walk around fighting invisible wars. There's a really good chance there is an invisible pain you are fighting daily, hidden just beneath the surface. You aren't imagining how hard it is. The silence itself is incredibly heavy. And honestly, this is exactly why that pain gets internalized. Some pain becomes silent simply because explaining it changes absolutely nothing. You didn't learn to stay quiet because you were suddenly okay, right? You learned to stay quiet because you just got tired of not being understood. You realized that spending whatever tiny bit of energy you had left trying to explain your wounds to people who weren't actually listening, it was just draining you even further. We are so quick to look in the mirror and label ourselves as broken. But actually, scratch that. You aren't broken. You're just deeply, profoundly exhausted. There is a fundamental difference here. Broken implies that something is fundamentally wrong with you, that you need to be fixed or glued back together. Exhausted? That just means you've been running on empty for far too long. We constantly beat ourselves up, telling ourselves we're just being lazy when we literally can't get out of bed or face the demands of the day. But listen, this inability to keep going, it isn't some character flaw, it's burnout. It is a biological and emotional survival response that kicks in when life simply stops feeling like living. Your body and your mind are literally pulling the emergency brake to protect you. Most people aren't happy or sad. They're just tired of pretending. Let that sink in for a moment. This perfectly captures that heavy, quiet middle ground where so many people exist right now. You might not be in a full-blown crisis, sure, but you certainly aren't joyful either. You're just operating out of sheer emotional depletion, carrying the massive weight of a mask you never even asked to wear. So, how do we actually get to this point of total depletion? Well, what broke you wasn't one single dramatic moment. It's rarely just one cinematic heartbreak that does it. It's more like 1,000 paper cuts. It's the slow, everyday erosion of your boundaries, your energy, and your spirit that happens over months or even years. Because the unsaid truth is, you didn't change overnight. You just slowly disappeared. I really want you to hear that. You didn't wake up one morning as a completely different person. Instead, inch by inch, you accommodated someone else. You compromised a little bit of your identity over here, a little bit of your voice over there, until the person you used to be just faded into the background. And in the aftermath of all that, you didn't actually heal. You adapted. There's a massive difference between genuine recovery and merely building armor. When you adapt to survive loving the wrong people, you aren't really healing the wound. You're just learning how to walk with a limp so it doesn't hurt quite as much when you have to put weight on it. Because some changes are not choices. They're purely survival. I want to pause here because this is so incredibly important for us to accept. If you've been angry at yourself for becoming colder or more guarded or more distant, please forgive yourself. The person you had to become was absolutely necessary to withstand the invisible scars that others left behind. Some people don't leave visible physical scars, you know? They actually change who you had to become just to survive them. When you constantly give way too much to people who don't choose you, it fundamentally alters your emotional DNA. You are forced to abandon your own core needs just to keep the peace, and that survival mechanism totally rewires how you interact with the entire world. So I really have to ask you, do you ever give too much and just completely forget how to receive? It's a tough question, isn't it? When your entire existence becomes about managing other people's feelings and bracing for their impact, your own capacity to accept love or care or even a simple compliment, it just shuts down. You become a one-way street, endlessly pouring out with absolutely nothing coming back in. Which brings us to a really devastating realization. Sometimes the absolute hardest part isn't losing them, it's realizing you lost yourself in the process. This shift in perspective changes everything. It means the profound grief you are feeling right now isn't necessarily for the relationship that ended or the person who left. The true grief is for the version of yourself that you sacrificed on the altar of trying to make it work. I didn't lose you. I lost myself trying to keep you. The depth of that specific kind of sorrow is just unmatched. It is the tragedy of loving someone so quietly and completely that you bankrupt your own soul just to keep them comfortable. You made yourself smaller and smaller so they could take up more room, until there was literally nothing left to give. But right here, this is the turning point. You didn't break. You left yourself. Think about how empowering that actually is. Your pain is not a permanent shattering of glass that can never be put back together. It is simply a separation. You walked away from your true self. And the beautiful thing about leaving yourself is that you can always, always choose to turn around and walk back. This quiet reclamation, it actually happens in stages. It starts with the moment, finally realizing you abandoned yourself for them. Then comes the exact day you decide to just stop waiting for them to choose you. And finally, the aftermath, that incredible realization that absolutely everything changes when you start choosing yourself. It's your journey out of the dark. And as you walk that path, you start to discover something beautiful. The quiet you've been desperately searching for begins the exact moment you let go. This is where we shift from sorrow to genuine empowerment. Look, you might feel like you're outgrowing what once felt like home, and honestly, that is terrifying. But letting go of that desperate need to be chosen by someone else, that is the very first, completely necessary step to finding actual peace. Everything changed when I chose myself. It's such a simple yet unbelievably profound statement. The inner peace, the validation, the love that you have been endlessly searching for in other people, it was never, ever going to come from them. It unlocks the exact second you decide that you are worth your own effort. You have to be the one to choose you. Maturity begins the moment you stop waiting to be saved. Let's be real. No one is coming with a magic wand to fix the exhaustion or magically heal the burnout. But you know what? That isn't depressing at all. It's liberating. It means you hold all the power. You can stop waiting on the sidelines of your own life and take your power back right here, right now. Which leaves us with one final, incredibly important question. Will you finally make peace with yourself? We've talked about the deep exhaustion of pretending, the silent battles you fight every day, and the pain of slowly disappearing into someone else. But now it is entirely in your hands. Are you ready to stop waiting to be saved and start truly living for you? Think about it.